Hey, this is Pastor Laf. Thanks for joining me today. It is Tuesday. We are in Luke chapter 12, and we're going to pick up in verse 41. Yesterday, we talked about a parable that Jesus gave about being prepared, being ready, uh, not thinking, oh, you know what, it's going to be a long time before the Lord comes back, so let's just go ahead and live it up, do a few crazy things. and At least that's what we talked about the parable meaning to some degree. So Peter asks a question in verse 41. It says, Then Peter said to him, Lord, do you speak this parable only to us or to all people? And Jesus begins to give an answer in verse 42. And let's read it together. The Lord said, Who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his master will make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of food in due season? Now, this is a pretty interesting question. Who's going to be the faithful and wise one whom the Lord's going to say, you know what, you've done a good job, and so I'm going to provide for you? Think about that. That's giving their portion of food in due season means it's like their provision. Faithfulness determines provision. It's interesting. Verse 43. Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will make him ruler over all that he has. But if that servant says in his heart, My master is delaying his coming, and he begins to beat the male and female servants, and to eat and drink and be drunk, the master of excuse me, I'm sorry. The master of that servant, verse 46, will come on a day when he is not looking for him, and at an hour when he's not aware, and will cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. And that servant who knew his master's will, and did not prepare himself, or do according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he who did not know, yet committed things deserving of stripes, shall be beaten with few. For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required. And to whom much has been committed, of him they will ask the more. So, forgive my coughing spell. Jesus says that there's a potential for people to feel like, you know what, the Lord's not going to be back for a while. You know, we're good. And they begin to live like they want to, do what they want to. Even to become abusive, self-centered, eating, drinking, without any thought about tomorrow or other people, only concerned with themselves, climbing over people, clawing over people, doing whatever it takes to make their life happy, without really being concerned about what they were left to do. It's interesting that he says this, that when he comes, he'll come in a day that this guy will not, so this person will not be aware of. He'll come and appoint him his portion with the believers. And it says he'll be beaten with many stripes. But then he goes to talk about people who really did not know. They didn't know what the Lord wanted. They didn't know what his will was. Committed the same kinds of things as the person who did. And they'll be beaten with fewer stripes. Understand what this is saying. The Lord has his will for you. He wants you to be doing something. His will isn't some passive thing that you just kind of smile about every day. There are things he needs you to do. If you do not do them, the threat is that he'll come and find you not doing his will. That he will put you with the unbelievers and beat you with many stripes. In other words, the day of judgment will be horrible for you. As believers, we have tremendous responsibility. Sometimes we don't understand just how much the Lord has entrusted to us. And if we don't do the things He's entrusted to us, then we will find ourselves being beaten. Our punishment at the end of this time on earth will be much harsher than someone who didn't know what to do. If God has entrusted you with a lot, that means He's expecting a lot. If He doesn't entrust you with much, well, He's not expecting much yet. He's waiting for you to prove yourself in the smaller things, the simpler things. The Lord wants you to be at work, doing His will, ministering, serving, caring, building the kingdom. And if you're not actively doing that, then you are actively disobedient. And that will not go good for many people at the end of their life on this earth. Do what He says. He's given you much, and He's requiring much. Give Him what He asks. Father, help us to be people who will be faithful stewards with the gifts You have given us. Faithful to serve You, to honor You, and to love You, and to love others. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.